Assalamu alaikum. Today I'm here with another board game review, and today I'll be telling you that why you should play Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition. Now this Ares Expedition is a card game version of the bigger game Terraforming Mars. I'm a fan of Terraforming Mars, which is a tableau building or engine building game in which you'll be playing a lot of cards which actually work with each other, trigger off functions with each other while what you're trying to do is trigger those functions to make a really powerful company which is doing terraforming on Mars and making it habitable. So in this card version, the footprint on the your table is going to be a lot less smaller, and the playtime promised is going to be a lot less as well, because it's going to be simultaneous play. Plus, rules have been streamlined, components have been upgraded, simplified, and using all of these things, is it going to be a better version of Terraforming Mars? So this review is going to cover both for the players who are coming from Terraforming Mars as well as those players who have no concept of how the game actually works. And so let me get closer to the table and then let me explain you how this game actually works. As you can see from the setup, that Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition has a lot less components as compared to the base game of Terraforming Mars, and that's the first comparison. Its setup is very quick. Each player is going to get one of their player boards. If you have the collectors or Kickstarter edition, it will be a dual layered board which doesn't let the cubes move, which I think is essential. So if you are upgrading to Ares Expedition, then do get the dual layer board edition, which you can get. Then the other thing that's going to change is that instead of a giant game board, you're going to have a mini board only, just to represent the ocean tiles. Gone are the cities, gone are the overall view of Mars. As long as you can get the oceans represented here, that's going to be enough. You will have 3 parameters that you need to increase to win the game, which are going to be oxygen, which you need to raise from purple, red, yellow to white levels. That's one of the parameters. The other parameter is the temperature, which again you have to raise. And the third parameter is going to be water availability, which is from oceans. As soon as all of these 3 parameters are upgraded to their fully expanded side or fully full side, then you have terraformed Mars enough that it's now habitable for humans. So that's going to be the objective of the game. How will you do that is through these deck of cards. These are what you can call the project cards. Different projects are going to let you work on or build an engine which you can successfully not only work in the best interest of your corporation in earning more money, which will let you in turn do more projects, which will let you in turn do more terraforming things on Mars. And in that way, whoever ends up having highest terraforming rating, TR, or victory points, what the game calls them, that player is going to be the winner. But unlike other games, victory points, or why this game doesn't call them just plain victory points, is because terraforming rating is not only your victory points, but it's also the trust that other Earth corporations are giving in you, in your company, and how much they are able to invest in you. So in each round or in each production phase, this is the amount of money that the Earth companies are going to invest in you. They are going to give to you to keep terraforming Mars. So it's important to actually grab victory points through terraforming rating, because it essentially increases your chances of production or your money production. Now, how you start the game is that each player is going to get one of these different companies. There are different companies which are going to each have their own special abilities. So for example, the Ecoline company is more about plants, and what it will say is that I start with plant production already. On the player board, there are going to be different parameters on which left side here, where I can track what's my production in each phase going to be. So whenever a production phase happens, then how much I'm going to produce automatically without any other need of any other card. So for example, this one indicates my company is invested in plants, which is represented by this green track. So I will increase this to 1. So automatically it will produce. Plus, there are some other effects which are given in purple here. So for example, my effect is when you spend a plant to gain a forest victory point, then raise the oxygen, you spend 1 less plant. So normally the game lets you increase or build a forest, which is these tokens. Build a forest for 8 plants. Once you have 8 plants, you can spend them as an action to actually build a forest. But for this company, you only need 7. Our technology is higher once you have this company. In similar way, there will be other companies which will have their own special abilities, and based on the selection of the company, you are going to actually play one of them. Once you have selected the company, also on the top will be the starting money that you get to have. So for example, 27. All the money and other resources in this game are represented by these common denominator. These don't represent money. This can represent heat. This can represent plant. It's only the common denominator. So these copper cubes are 1. Silver cubes are 5. And then your gold cubes represent 10. So this is similar to your previous. So I start with 27. So I will take 2 and 5. This is 7 and then 20 more cubes. Since this is my money, so I will take this and place it in my credits box. So now since I have placed it here, these cubes have essentially become money. If I had placed any of these cubes in the heat section, that represents 10 heat. If I had placed it here, then it represents 10 plants. So the same cubes, that's always a mechanism I loved in terraforming, that I don't need huge variety of, okay, red cube represents this, blue cube represents this. I don't need any of that. Where you place the cube, that cube represents that. So I love that mechanism of Terraforming Mars, and I do wish other games actually use that mechanism as well. Then each player is also going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards to start with. I'm not going into advanced variants that how you can vary the type of cards that you're going to get. But anyway, you'll be getting 8 cards to start with. And once you view those cards, view your company, then you're going to decide what are you going to do. Now let's go to the actual crust of the game, that what are you going to do. This is the setup. What are you now going to do from round to round? And for that, this is the difference from the base Terraforming Mars game. In base terraforming, now at this stage, player by player, you will be doing actions and as many actions as you want in one round. But in this one, there are different phase cards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which are represented here as well. 5 phases, and you're going to select one phase for this round that you are interested in doing. So for example, based on the cards I have mostly green cards. Well, I have only green cards. So my main interest, and I do have enough money, my main interest right now is going to be development. So what do these each phases let me do? The development lets me play one of these green cards and put it in my tableau and gain its effect. The red and yellow card, which is phase 2, it's called construction. It lets me play a blue or a red card. Blue cards are mostly effect cards or action cards, which let me do a minor action, a small action over and over and over again. The red cards are event, which happens one time, they give you a big benefit, and then that's it. They never happen again. Normally development increases your production in some way. So that's development, construction. Then number 3 is action. In action phase, whatever you had built using a blue card before, as I said, it lets you build some kind of minor actions. This triggers those actions. Plus, you can take some of the standard actions that each player is going to have. Those standard actions are pay money to build a forest, pay money to increase the temperature, or use your plants or heat to increase one of these parameters, or pay money to actually go and dig for ocean tiles. So these are not the most economical methods of doing things, but if you have a great money engine rolling up, then yes, these are good things that you can do. Phase 4 is going to be production. Slowly you are going to run out of money. Then how do you get more money back? Right now your production is for money is 0 here, but 0 plus how much is the earth relying on you or giving you trust? That's your TR rating, as I said before. So right now each player starts with 5, and accordingly what I will be getting is 5 plus whatever is here, which is 0. So I'll be getting 5 money if I go in production phase. Plus, what's the next production is cards. I have 0 cards production, that is how many projects my team is going to generate, how much innovative my team is. So my team is not very innovative, so they are not going to generate any production of cards or projects by themselves. Heat, I have not set up any industry which generates heat, so my heat production is 0. But I do have a plant production. So what will happen is that I will be generating, well, first of all, if I do play a production card, I'll be generating 5 money. I'll be generating 1 plant. Then this one is steel production. This one is titanium production. In the difference between steel and titanium production from Ares Expedition to Terraforming Mars vanilla game is that steel production and titanium production used to be a resource in the vanilla game, but now it has been more streamlined, more simplified, that you don't collect those resources. It's just a constant production, and as long as you need steel or titanium to pay for any card, as long as you have that resource, you can pay for it. That's it. You don't need to collect. So that's another streamlining they have done. But anyway, they don't do anything during the production phase. It only helps out when you are trying to play any of these cards. So that's your production phase. Then the last phase is going to be research phase. In research phase, all players are going to draw cards and then see those cards and keep one and discard the other card. That, okay, I'm not interested in this one. That's your research phase. So in this way, I have explained all the phases. The only thing I have not explained in detail is how do you pay for these cards. So for example, in development and construction, paying for a card is very simple. So for example, let's say I also still wanted to go heavy in my plant production because that's my company's aim. So I want to go for industrial farming, and this is the card I want to pay. I have to pay 19. So this is 20. I'll pay this and take 1 back. Now if you see this symbol, this is the steel symbol. If I had any steel production, then instead of paying for money, I could have got a discount. It's not about paying with steel, it's how much discount I will get. So I could have gotten a discount based on how much steel I produce. But anyway, I don't have steel, so I don't get a discount. I will have to pay 19, I get 1 back. And then I get to take the effect back. And the effect says the boxes always show the picture of what I'm going to get. And if you are unclear, there will always be text which tells what are you going to get. So this increases my money production by farming, and my plant production increases by 2. So next time production phase happens, I'm going to be better. So that's how these cards get played. Same will be the concept for action or your blue action cards or effect cards. They will have certain kind of action or effect that comes into play, and that's what these colors are going to represent here. The orange color on the development cards normally represents your production is going to increase. The blue background of these cards represents it's an action which can be triggered by an action card. And purple means effect, that effect is a passive effect. Whenever something happens which is represented here, then something else gets triggered. So you can go heavy on these kind of effects. That what you're trying to do is kind of build an engine which works with each other. So for example, if I had an effect that whenever I play a card, it's going to give me microorganisms, okay, then I will try to have a card which gives me victory points for having more microorganisms. Then I want to have more synergy of ability of playing more cards as well. So the more cards I play, the more times this will trigger, the more times microorganisms or animals or whatever the card says is going to get produced, and I get to place those microorganisms in my lab, and that lab generates victory points for me. Maybe that's one of the things I want to get heavy on. If I'm going heavy on farming, maybe my objective is that I want to increase the oxygen a lot. I want to invest heavily in trees and try to increase the oxygen before other players get to do anything. Maybe that's one of the strategies I want to do. So you have to think about what strategy you're trying to plan and trying to find combos between the cards. And that's when research becomes very important, that you try to dig through this giant deck of cards and try to find out the card which is going to be cards that work well with each other. Now, it does not mean that that's the only thing you will be doing, because you will find a lot of cards. You will still be investing in money, because without money you cannot invest in projects. You will still be investing in other projects which help you support your company otherwise as well, because there are three other parameters that you have to look for. And that combination finding is the gist of Terraforming Mars. Now, how these cards change the game rapidly is that each player is going to select one of the phases that they are going to select. So for example, I select this phase and every player will be selecting this face down. Why this is being done face down is because whatever anyone selects, everyone gets to do that action. Only the player who has played that specific card gets to do slightly powerful version of that action, while others get to do the same default action which I have already explained without the bonus action. And the bonus actions or the powerful action is what I have not explained to you. So what are those bonus actions going to be? And that's what these are going to show as well. So let's say we were playing with 4 players. One player selected the development phase. So we will flip this to indicate that development phase is going to be active. Nobody selected phase number 2. Let's say one player selected phase 4. So we will flip this to indicate production is going to happen. And then 2 other players selected research phase. So research phase only gets triggered once. So you always have to look and see what other player resources are. What do you think he's going to act, and try to do something else. So maybe he's running out of money and he's going to play a production card. But when he plays a production card, you are going to get production as well. Well, based upon your own production stats on your player board. So, but that's what you have to anticipate in this one. So I should not be wasting my turn doing production. He's already out of money. So maybe I'll play a development card. He doesn't have enough money. They will not be able to play any project cards. So using this development card at this time, I can build a project. Their turn will go to waste. But when their production phase will happen, then I get to produce and have enough money for my next phase, next round as well. And I will keep on building. And that's the unique thing that they have done in this one, that this follow-up action, that everyone is engaged and everyone is playing simultaneously, which has shortened the timeline of Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition version as compared to the Terraforming Mars. Now, you can play in one by one if you're interested in, okay, show me what you're doing. And players can spend time like that as well, if that interests you. Because, for example, whenever me and my wife are playing, we do play like that, that we want to see what other person is doing because it interests us. But that does increase the duration of the game. But that's not the objective of the game. How the official rule says is that once we are in development phase, once this is being triggered, then everyone do their actions simultaneously, play their green cards, and then that phase is over. Once everyone is done, then move on to the next phase, then move on to the next phase. So they always happen in the correct sequence. Now, talking about bonus action. So for example, in development phase, the bonus action is only available to the player who did play that card. So if I was the player, this action is available to anyone, but my bonus or powerful action available to me is going to be that I have to pay 3 money less, 3 mega credit, the unit that the game calls it, mega credit less for the card that I'm going to play. If I was doing construction, then I can draw an additional card, and each card is worth 3 mega credit, because you can discard any card at any time to actually get money as well, which is equal to 3 mega credit. It's shown on your board as well. Or I can play an additional blue or red card immediately using construction. Then action lets not only trigger all the actions on my cards, but if I am the player who played the action, then it lets me re-trigger one of the actions once again. So if this was producing an animal, a bird, then I can produce a bird again and put it here and for additional victory point. If I was doing the production phase, then the bonus action is going to be that I produce 4 MC, 4 mega credit more. If I was doing the research phase, then rather than picking up 2 cards, I'll be picking up 5 cards and keeping 2 cards rather than 1 card. So maybe that's what I want to do. So these bonus actions make it much more interesting. There will be certain conditions on the cards that have to be met when you can play them, which represents temperature must be this much or oxygen must be this much before a powerful card can be played. Sometimes when you flip these tiles, not sometimes, when you flip these tiles, there will be some bonuses on here which you are going to get, plus you will be meeting conditions on the card that how much water should be on the planet before you can play a project. So those kind of conditions you always have to take care of, but majority of the cards that come in this huge pile of deck are actually without those. The artwork on this has been redone. So in the original Terraforming Mars, one of the problems with the game was that many times it was a hodgepodge of artwork. Sometimes it was renders, sometimes artwork, sometimes it was photos. So it didn't look good. But now they have redone all of this artwork and it looks beautiful. The icons are very simple. The text on it is going to tell you what's going to trigger immediately, what can be triggered later on, and all your tags. You can easily put your cards like this to see all the tags that are available. Why these tags are going to become available? Because some of these cards are going to make use of those tags, that for example you must have at least 3 science tags before you can do this section, or you are going to get an advantage based on how many plant tags or how many building tags you have already invested in. So these are the kind of combos that you are trying to make. Then I've already shown you trees. Whenever you plant trees, these are going to increase your oxygen. Whenever you do any kind of terraforming rating, your TR rating is going to increase, which means next time production you're going to get money of this plus whatever is your money production from your factories. This is the budget coming from Earth. This is whatever you're producing by yourself. And but not only that, but these trees or forests are going to be 1 additional victory point per token that you are able to collect at the end of the game. In the original game, these forests had some adjacency rules with the oceans and those kind of things as well. That rule is eliminated. That rule has been streamlined. You just now collect them as victory point tokens, nothing else. So that's Terraforming Mars, how the game works. Now let's get back and tell you my final thoughts. I've been telling you my basic thoughts, but anyway, for final thoughts, let's go back. In my opinion, let me be straightforward with you. I love Ares Expedition more than Terraforming Mars, the vanilla game. Why? Because it gives me exactly the same feeling of Terraforming Mars. Yes, they have cut short some of the things, like the cities are gone, the adjacency rule for forests are gone, but majority of the things are still there, which was this huge pile of project cards, and that's what the actual fun of Terraforming Mars was. So they have concentrated back on these project cards and forget about those additional things of cities, and they can always bring those kind of additional things as an add-on. And if you wanted to slowly convert your Ares Expedition into a full-fledged Terraforming Mars, maybe you can. maybe they will never release that as an expansion, because why would they already have a product which does that. So in my opinion, what this game does, it does beautifully, because the two things they introduce, what they have cut from the original game, I really support that. Then the second thing they have done is the introduction of these phases, that what gets triggered when. You get to select what gets triggered, is really, really interesting. Because one of the biggest problem I had with Terraforming Mars, the vanilla game, was the production phase. That is, when do you get money? You only used to get money when you used to pass a generation in that one, and that used to happen very slowly. So you used to take a lot of actions, and sometimes player would be sitting because they have ran out of money, they can no longer do anything, while someone is taking actions, and he's just waiting for the generation to pass so that a production phase can happen. But in this one, well, I don't have to wait for a generation. I can play a production card and say, okay, I'm triggering production, give me money so that I can keep on playing. I don't have to wait for anyone else. Plus that fun of thinking that, okay, who is going to play what, and how do I enhance the number of actions that I get to do each round. That's really fun. Even though some players might end up doing the same thing, it's still okay. You don't lose a lot, but still you want to optimize each and everything. You don't want to be in a condition that you went through a trigger of a phase and you couldn't do anything out of it. So you do want to balance that out. So the game components, I really love now the double layered player boards which each player is going to get. So I do recommend that don't buy the standard Target or whatever is available on Amazon. Don't buy that edition. If you can get, even if you cannot get the Kickstarter edition, which you cannot get right now, look for the Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition Collector's Edition. So even on Amazon, you will be able to find the collector's edition of the game, or in hobby game stores. Why collector's edition? Because it does come with dual layer boards, because that was the other biggest problem with Terraforming Mars. And now I can move these cubes and my standard production cubes are not going anywhere. These cubes which are in MC are not by mistake moving into the heat section. That's really good. The only problem I have with the components is this board. These temperature and oxygen tracks as well as the score tracks are really tiny. I think they could have even gone away with this one and made it much more simple. So for example, they could have, just like for trees, that you just take a token. Oceans could have been the same as well, that these are just ocean tiles in a pack and you just take an ocean tile and flip it and that's your reward. Okay, fine. So the ocean tiles would be just sitting in a container, and of course these containers also come in the Kickstarter as well as collector edition version. They are not in your standard version of the game. So you don't need this. These meters don't really work that well and these can get moved. So instead of these meters, they could have given simpler, longer, slightly bigger meters, or they could have given some flip cards which you can have done. Okay, the temperature has now raised from -10 to 0 degree, and you just flip a card and that tells, okay, now the temperature has reached purple, red, white, and you have a deck of cards just to show, small deck of cards which you can show that what the temperature is right now. And every player could have controlled their terraforming against their player board. Just like these ratings, they could have made a track for terraforming rating, and that could have fixed this problem as well. So I do think this board could have done much better. These tokens, I think, even though serve the purpose, but after your first play, just to understand how the game works, these are going to become unnecessary. I don't see many players using them. You will just open your phase cards and everyone, you will see, okay, phase 1, 2 and 4 are getting triggered, and that just works fine as well. You really don't need to flip these tokens, so cut away your time and just don't play with these tokens. They don't add anything to the game. Just leave them in the box. So other than that, the components are beautiful. The quality of the cards, these are linen finish. The quality is very nice. Even the rule book, the feel of the book is very nice. There is a quick start guide available for those players who are coming from Terraforming Mars to Ares Expedition. There's a quick rules overview to tell them, okay, what has changed. So this is what you need to know, what has not changed. And now you are up for running in 2 pages rather than going through the full rule book. And that's really what I'm thankful for, that these kind of things should be done. So overall, in my opinion, this is a superior version of Terraforming Mars. Now, if you are looking for the mega experience and you already have a lot of expansions for Terraforming Mars, sure, keep it. This does not replace all those expansions, and I don't think they'll be releasing replacement of those expansions for this game, because again they want to have 2 separate product lines. This is going to be a product line of theirs separately. There are already, just like the edges on this side which had the tokens, there are some edges on top, and on the left there are going to be expansions which are going to be released just for this one, which are going to be different from the main Terraforming Mars game. So in my opinion, if you're going to start, you don't have the base game, then I would prefer you pick this one up. It plays quicker, it has better production, it looks better, it plays better. But if you already have the bigger Terraforming Mars, then should you get it. Only get it if you want to play Terraforming Mars and you are unable to get Terraforming Mars to your table as frequently as you want, because the decreased time, and by decreased time it's still going to take 45 to 90 minutes. Okay, normally my games of the other vanilla Terraforming Mars used to go from 2 to 3 hours long. So this one, 1.5 hour, 1 hour, that's the time frame that you're going to look. So if you want to have shorter play time and more games to your table of Terraforming Mars because you really love this game, then yes, even if you own Terraforming Mars, you can still own Ares Expedition and keep the bigger Terraforming Mars only for bigger occasions, a friends gathering, a proper game night, something like that. But for me, I'm going to for surely keep this one. Highly recommended for me. I just forgot how much I love Terraforming Mars, and by playing this, it gave me an excuse to bring it to table more. So from me, a high recommendation. That's it from me. Happy gaming.